Russia at the turn of the 20th century was a land of stark contrasts. Imagine a vast countryside dotted with villages and fields. This was the Russia of peasants who toiled on the land. They formed the backbone of Russia but lived in poverty. Life was harsh, with little reward for their hard work. In stark contrast, the cities glimmered with a different kind of life. St. Petersburg, the capital, boasted grand palaces and bustling streets. Here, the aristocracy lived in luxury. They enjoyed the Tsar's favor and held vast wealth. This tiny elite controlled the country's resources, leaving the majority behind. At the helm was Tsar Nicholas II, an absolute ruler. He believed in autocracy, holding all power in his hands. The Tsar's word was law. However, the Tsar's government was inefficient and riddled with corruption. Officials were more interested in personal gain than the welfare of the people. This only fueled the growing resentment among the masses. The Tsar's Russia was like a pressure cooker, ready to burst. The gap between the rich and the poor, the Tsar's autocratic rule and the simmering discontent created a volatile mix. It was only a matter of time before the pressure found its release. The year 1905 was a turning point. Russia's humiliating defeat in the Russo-Japanese War exposed the Tsar's weakness. The war also crippled the economy, leading to widespread hardship. People had had enough. They demanded change. On a cold January day, a peaceful protest marched towards the Tsar's winter palace in St. Petersburg. They carried a petition, hoping to appeal to the Tsar's better nature. But their pleas fell on deaf ears. The Tsar's guards opened fire on the unarmed hundreds. This day would forever be etched in history as Bloody Sunday. Bloody Sunday was a wake-up call. It shattered any remaining illusions about the Tsar's benevolence. The massacre ignited a wave of anger that swept across Russia. Strikes erupted in cities. Peasants revolted in the countryside. The Tsar's regime was teetering on the brink. The 1905 revolution, as it came to be known, forced the Tsar to concede some reforms. He reluctantly agreed to establish a parliament, the Duma. But these concessions were too little, too late. The seeds of revolution had been sown. The stage was set for a more dramatic upheaval. While Russia grappled with its internal turmoil, a new ideology was taking root in Europe's socialism. This radical way of thinking challenged the established order. It offered a vision of a just and equitable society. Socialism emerged as a response to the excesses of the Industrial Revolution. Factories sprouted across Europe, but the workers who toiled in them endured appalling conditions. They labored long hours for meager wages, while factory owners amassed fortunes. Thinkers like Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels provided the intellectual framework for socialism. They argued that capitalism, with its emphasis on private property and profit, was inherently exploitative. They envisioned a classless society where the means of production were owned collectively. Socialist ideas spread like wildfire across Europe, attracting workers and intellectuals alike. They formed political parties and trade unions, demanding better working conditions and a fairer distribution of wealth. The stage was set for a clash between the old order and the forces of change. Here's a timeline to help you understand the key events, 1850s to 1880s. Debates about socialism intensify across Europe. Thinkers grapple with ideas of equality and social justice. 1898. The Russian Social Democratic Workers' Party is formed, a key player in the upcoming revolution. 1905 Bloody Sunday shocks Russia, sparking the 1905 revolution and forcing the Tsar to make concessions. 1914 World War I erupts, putting immense strain on Russia's already fragile system. The war becomes a catalyst for revolution. 1917, Tsar Nicholas II, weakened and unpopular, abdicates the throne. The Romanov dynasty, which had ruled Russia for centuries, comes to an end. October 1917. The Bolsheviks, led by Lenin, seize power in a bloodless coup. They promise peace, land and bread, slogans that resonate with the weary populace. 1918 to 1920. A brutal civil war engulfs Russia, pitting the Red Army Bolsheviks against the White Army anti-Bolsheviks. The Bolsheviks emerge victorious, but at a tremendous cost. 1919, the Comintern, Communist International, is founded aiming to spread communist revolution worldwide. The world watches Russia with a mix of fear and fascination. 1929, Joseph Stalin consolidates his power in the Soviet Union, marking the beginning of his brutal regime. He implements forced collectivization of agriculture, leading to widespread famine and suffering. Here's a timeline to help you understand the key events, 1850s to 1880s. Debates about socialism intensify across Europe. Thinkers grapple with ideas of equality and social justice. 1898. The Russian Social Democratic Workers' Party is formed, a key player in the upcoming revolution. 1905 Bloody Sunday shocks Russia, sparking the 1905 revolution and forcing the Tsar to make concessions. 1914 World War I erupts, putting immense strain on Russia's already fragile system. The war becomes a catalyst for revolution. 1917, Tsar Nicholas II, weakened and unpopular, abdicates the throne. The Romanov dynasty, which had ruled Russia for centuries, comes to an end. October 1917. The Bolsheviks, led by Lenin, seize power in a bloodless coup. They promise peace, land and bread, slogans that resonate with the weary populace. 1918 to 1920. A brutal civil war engulfs Russia, pitting the Red Army Bolsheviks against the White Army anti-Bolsheviks. The Bolsheviks emerge victorious, but at a tremendous cost. 1919, the Comintern, Communist International, is founded, aiming to spread communist revolution worldwide. The world watches Russia with a mix of fear and fascination. 1929, Joseph Stalin consolidates his power in the Soviet Union, marking the beginning of his brutal regime. He implements forced collectivization of agriculture, leading to widespread famine and suffering. Here's a timeline to help you understand the key events, 1850s to 1880s. Debates about socialism intensify across Europe. Thinkers grapple with ideas of equality and social justice. 1898, the Russian Social Democratic Workers' Party is formed, a key player in the marking the beginning of his brutal regime. He implements forced collectivization of agriculture, leading to widespread famine and suffering. Here's a timeline to help you understand the key events, 1850s to 1880s. Debates about socialism intensify across Europe. Thinkers grapple with ideas of equality and social justice. 1898, the Russian Social Democratic Workers' Party is formed, a key player in the upcoming revolution. 1905 Bloody Sunday shocks Russia, sparking the 1905 revolution and forcing the Tsar to make concessions. 1914 World War I erupts, putting immense strain on Russia's already fragile system. The war becomes a catalyst for revolution. 1917 Tsar Nicholas II, weakened and unpopular, abdicates the throne. The Romanov dynasty, which had ruled Russia for centuries, comes to an end. October 1917. The Bolsheviks, led by Lenin, seize power in a bloodless coup. They promise peace, land and bread, slogans that resonate with the weary populace. 1918 to 1920. A brutal civil war engulfs Russia, pitting the... Section 5. Lenin and Trotsky, architects of a new Russia. Two figures loom large in the Russian Revolution, Vladimir Lenin and Leon Trotsky. They were brilliant strategists and ruthless revolutionaries, driven by a burning desire to create a new world order. Lenin, the leader of the Bolshevik Party, was a charismatic and uncompromising revolutionary. He spent years in exile, plotting the overthrow of the Tsarist regime. Lenin returned to Russia in 1917, bringing with him his vision of a socialist utopia. He believed in a disciplined party of revolutionaries, leading the masses to seize power. Trotsky, a brilliant orator and military strategist, played a pivotal role in the revolution. He organized the Red Army, transforming it into a formidable fighting force that ultimately triumphed in the Civil War. Trotsky believed in spreading the revolution beyond Russia's borders, advocating for a global socialist revolution. Together, Lenin and Trotsky led the Bolsheviks to victory, establishing the world's first socialist state. They set about dismantling the old order, nationalizing industries and redistributing land. Their experiment in social engineering would have far-reaching consequences, shaping the course of the 20th century. Section 6. The Echoes of Revolution. A world transformed. The Russian Revolution sent shockwaves across the globe. Here was a nation that had dared to challenge the existing world order, inspiring hope and fear in equal measure. In Europe, workers and intellectuals inspired by the Bolshevik victory rose up in protest. Germany, Hungary, and Bavaria witnessed short-lived socialist revolutions. The spectre of communism haunted the capitalist world, prompting governments to crack down on socialist movements. But the revolution's impact extended far beyond Europe. In Asia, Africa, and Latin America, oppressed people saw in Russia's example a beacon of hope. They drew inspiration from the Bolshevik struggle against imperialism and their promise of a more just and equitable world. The Russian Revolution marked a turning point in world history. It shattered the old empires, ignited new ideologies, and reshaped the geopolitical landscape. It was a testament to the power of ideas and the enduring human desire for a better world. Section 7: Socialism's Global Impact, from Moscow to Mumbai. The ripples of the Russian Revolution reached far beyond Europe, leaving their mark on distant shores. The success of the Bolsheviks ignited a spark of hope in the hearts of many across the globe, particularly in countries struggling under colonial rule. In India, for example, intellectuals and freedom fighters like M.N. Roy and Jawaharlal Nehru saw in the Russian Revolution a model for their own struggle against British imperialism. They were drawn to the socialist ideals of equality and social justice, believing that these principles could help create a fairer and more equitable India. The revolution also resonated with prominent figures like Rabindranath Tagore, who saw in the Soviet Union's emphasis on education and social welfare a model for progress. He believed that India could learn from the Soviet experiment in building a modern nation. Across Asia, Africa, and Latin America, socialist ideas took root, inspiring movements for independence and social change. The Russian Revolution had shown that it was possible to challenge the old order and create a new world, one where the oppressed could rise up and claim their rightful place. Section 8: The Legacy of 1917, a Century of Change. The Russian Revolution, a century later, continues to fascinate and provoke debate. It left an indelible mark on the 20th century, shaping political ideologies, sparking social movements, and influencing the course of history. The revolution's legacy is a complex one. On the one hand, it led to the establishment of the Soviet Union, a superpower that challenged the West for decades. The Soviet experiment in social engineering, while flawed, resulted in significant achievements in education, healthcare, and industrial development. On the other hand, the revolution also ushered in an era of repression and authoritarianism. Millions perished under Stalin's brutal regime, victims of his paranoia and quest for absolute power. The Soviet Union, despite its initial promise, ultimately collapsed under the weight of its own contradictions. Despite its tragic flaws, the Russian Revolution continues to hold lessons for us today. It reminds us of the importance of social justice, the dangers of unchecked power, and the enduring human desire for a fairer and more equitable world. As Section 9: Conclusion: Lessons from the Revolution. The Russian Revolution, a momentous event in human history, offers us valuable lessons even a century later. It reminds us that social and economic inequalities can fuel unrest, and that unchecked power can lead to tyranny. The revolution's legacy is complex and multifaceted, a testament to the complexities of social change. While the Soviet experiment ultimately failed, it left an indelible mark on the world, inspiring movements for social justice and shaping the geopolitical landscape. As we navigate the challenges of the 21st century, the lessons of 1917 remain relevant. They remind us of the importance of addressing inequality, safeguarding human rights, and striving for a more just and equitable world for all. The Russian Revolution, with all its triumphs and tragedies, continues to be a subject of fascination and debate. It serves as a stark reminder of the power of ideas, the complexities of social change, and the enduring human quest for a better world.